while the mid to proximal femoral vein is about 95% occluded. That laugh was just a bit of a nervous laugh, okay? I don't think it's funny. Appreciate you listening to all the bullshit falling out of my mouth. If you watch carefully, you'll even see some of my shoestrings fall out of my mouth because I always have my foot in my mouth as well, so... All right, everyone. Well, let's get started on this little chat session today. I'm obviously not out writing or doing Zwift today. Wanted to get in here, do a little bit of a chit chat. Just talk about a few things that are on my mind, and occasionally I like to do this chat session, and in some cases, it could be for the users or the audience, but many times I do this for myself because I find that when I do these chat sessions, and whether I go on a rant or just word vomit or just hearing myself talk about things helps clarify or solidify some of the things that I'm thinking about, which is one reason why I like to do these, here and there, once in a while. So today we're doing one, and I do have a couple of topics already. Let's get into first topic of the day. So on this first topic, what I'm talking about is something I generally don't like to talk about. I have moments where I talk about the issue or the condition, and then there's just a lot of times I don't want to talk about it. I want to not necessarily ignore it, but I just don't want it in my mind all the time because I'm dealing with it physically and mentally every single day. So it's like I don't want to talk about it all the time. But today has come to a point where I'm not out writing just due to the fact that I have some additional swelling going on in my left leg. I got some aching going on. It's not as painful or aching near as much as when many, many months ago when I was first diagnosed with this blood clot in my left leg. But it is bothering me a bit today, so I decided, hey, I'm not going to go out on a ride. And for one thing, my e-bike is broken right now, flat. And, I got plenty of other bikes I can ride. I can easily go out on any other bike, but I'm just thinking... one reason why I'm riding the e-bike a lot right now is because if I'm out riding and my leg gets to a point where it does become fatigued or I've got a lot of additional swelling going on, I can kind of ease off on the pedaling and let the e-bike do a lot of the work so that my leg can deal with, the swelling and such. All right, so today I decided not to go ride because the leg is definitely bothering me. I actually took a picture of where you can see the difference between my right leg and my left leg, where there's so much swelling going on the leg. You can just kind of see the fluid build up and the skin kind of like pouring over on the band of the sock, just due to all the swelling that's going on down there, and it tends to do that on and off. It's I think it's a little bit more aggravated today just because of yesterday's circumstances, or that I was out riding, got a flat, and ended up luckily I only got about 3.5 miles out, so I had to walk 3.5 miles back home. And my ankle was bothering me. Unfortunately today the leg is just giving me a little bit of fits with swelling and things like that. So I decided, like, hey, let's kind of forget going outside. Let's just stay, do a chat. Let's relax. Chill today. Take it easy. But so on this first topic, since this is the thing that's on my mind right now, is this whole blood clot issue that I'm dealing with. I figured that'd be the first thing I'd talk about because there's a few things that have been going on in my mind in relation to it, as far as how do I approach it? What is my go forward plan? So since this blood clot thing is something that's on my mind lately, and especially this morning, because like I said, I've got some extra buildup of swelling and a little bit more aching than usual, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with yesterday and all the walking that I had to do. Just kind of aggravated things. So with that, I do have an upcoming visit, which is going to be where we check the condition of this blood clot and to see if there's been any improvement whatsoever in the last 3 months, which, if you know anything about where I've been with this whole situation, is that in the first 3 month period up to the ultrasound, there's been zero improvement on the size, the condition of the blood clot. So another appointment was scheduled another 3 months out, so that we can check the condition again. All right. So that's coming up here really soon. But I've learned that from the previous appointment not to get my hopes up really high on what improvement looks like, because in my mind I kind of built up that, hey, there's probably some improvement because things were feeling better, So I've learned that don't go necessarily based on what I feel. So like, even though I've been able to get on the bike a little bit more, I'm walking, I'm doing a little bit more physical activity than before. And there's good days, there's bad days on whether it feels good or doesn't feel good. But I'm definitely am not going to this next ultrasound with any kind of hopes that there's significant improvement in the blood clot. I'm just not, okay? So with that, I'm at the point where I'm making different conscious decisions and subconscious decisions about what do I do going forward now. So one thing, and part of what that is that a lot of people are asking me, like, why don't you have this thing removed? Why don't you just, they can remove this thing, okay? Well, I did ask my doctor about that. And so I actually have 2 doctors that I'm seeing, of 3 doctors that I have, that suggested that it's not ideal for my case. And so according to the vein doctor, that because of the location of it being below the crease of the hip and down below, it's not ideal. And then the hematologist was on board with that, even though they didn't consult in any way, I know. But she basically stated that there's the potential to do more harm than the good of removing it. And a lot of that is highly dependent on the condition of the vein walls, how strong it is, whether it will hold up without stents and things like that. So there's a lot of that's on the back of mine. And then I got people that are still pursuing and talking to me about, like, why don't I have it removed? Why don't I have it removed? And so that is very highly on my mind right now, about whether I do pursue having this thing removed. I'm still of the mind that it's not ideal. It's not recommended. It's not something that I should consider. But the problem is that this thing in my leg, it's impacting me not just physically but mentally. There's a lot going on in the brain with this whole thing. When you're dealing with it all the time, you feel the different physical ailments, the fatigue, the minor aches, the pains. You see physically the swelling going on. I should show that picture. Where's my phone at? I probably won't be able to show it on camera, but let's see here if it will even show up. Yeah, we'll try to put that up to the camera and see. I don't know that it'll focus on it. Probably not. No. Oh well. But you can see where the leg has just got so much swelling going on that the skin is just kind of like pouring over the band of the sock, and the right leg is normal. There's the sock just fits really nice. In the other leg, it's just like bulging over the cuff of the sock. So, hey, Hex Hector, how's it going? So this is something that I'm dealing with physically all the time. Whether I'm seeing it, I feel it. But the other part of this whole blood clot issue is that it's playing a big mental role as well. It's like, you have no idea how many times I tell myself, I want this thing out of my body. It's just a constant annoying thing that's going on in the brain. It's a battle all the time. Thinking about it, knowing that it's impairing me in different ways, and at the same time trying not to let it limit me or impair me in any way. But it's just there. It's actually, as much as I want to tell myself that, I'm not going to let it impact me or anything like that, it does. It's playing a big mental. It has a big mental impact on me as well, as much as it is physical. So listen, it wasn't up until recent that hey, believe me, I do understand that when I'm talking to my doctors about this whole thing. Hey, Hex Hector, yeah, I appreciate the virtual hugs. We're okay, believe it or not. It just, I know you weren't here earlier, but sometimes I do these chat sessions, not necessarily for the audience, but to hear myself talk about it so that I know a little bit more about what's going on in my head. You know what I mean? But when I'm at my doctor's visits, believe me, I do understand a lot of the terminology and things that they're telling me. The bottom line is, besides all the medical terminology, the bottom line is I got a blood clot that goes from the crease of my hip, down my leg, back behind my knee, down into my calf. It's if I was to put a tape measure to it, I have a nearly 24-inch long blood clot in my left leg, and it's in the common femoral vein, the main vein that returns the blood back to the heart. Okay. And look, and I'm not looking for people's sympathy or anything like that. Believe me, I'm not here for that. I'm here again, to hear myself talk about it as I'm thinking forward about what I'm going to do. Okay. So all these times I'm in the doctor's office listening to how they're talking to me about it and everything like that, I finally, for the first time, have in front of me like how they medically diagnose it as far as on a chart. And so this is what it says about the this is what it says about it. Hang on a second. Very interesting. And I actually, like, even though I know what these words mean, I went ahead and looked them up just to clarify what they're actually saying about it. So here's what they're actually saying medically about the blood. So chronic DVT is noted in lower left extremity. Okay, so chronic meaning that 20 years ago I had a blood clot in the same leg, even though that one was only 6 inches long and it was in the calf only. Okay, so they've noted chronic DVT noted in lower left extremity. Okay, and then when they talk about current state, a single perineal vein and the popliteal vein are occluded. Occluded means obstructed. Okay, blocked. The distal femoral vein is about 50% patent. Okay, 50% patent, which means that there's some flow. So it's half restricted, half not restricted. Okay, while the mid to proximal femoral vein is about 95% occluded. That laugh was just a bit of a nervous laugh. Okay, I don't think it's funny. 95% occluded, which occluded is just obstructed. So it's a major blockage in the vein. Bottom line. Now, on the thoughts of like, do I have this thing removed? Like I said, this is something I'm still thinking about, even though there are doctor recommendations that it's, and again, 2 doctors that never colluded, never talked. One, my vein doctor said that there's like too much statistical data on why, as far as like mine, as far as the actual location, everything, it's not a good idea. And the hematologist, when I mentioned it to her, she just said that, again, as far as location and condition, that there's the potential to do more harm than the good of actually going in and removing it. So it has now become a thing that's been more and more on my mind about where, how do I move forward? Now, I'm still having all hopes, fingers crossed, and everything that on the next doctor visit, which it's coming up really soon. I'm pretty sure it's this month. No, it's actually it's towards the beginning of July. So, but we're still close. I mean, if you consider it was a 3-month span up till the next visit, 3 more weeks is not that far away. So it's going to go by really fast. I don't want to hammer on that topic too much longer, but I just want to, again, what I'll more than likely do is go back and listen to this video and kind of listen to the things that I'm saying, because while I've mentioned it here and there to my wife, I don't really think I'm fully speaking of all the things that my mind is trying to process as far as what I do. Okay. It is definitely affecting quality of life, and that's kind of a big thing that I need to consider, because I'm not doing things quite the way I want or how I want to do it, you know? Now, I don't think bicycle racing is going to be a big thing in my life anymore. I just really don't anticipate it being. So even if, let's just say, boom, tomorrow this thing's all of a sudden gone and like, hey, I can go right back to lactate threshold training and, you know, pretty much be prepped and ready for racing all the time. I don't think I will be back into racing in the racing scene. I've really come to terms with accepting the fact that I've accomplished a lot in the racing scene later in life, you know. Over here are two of the most prized medals of all the medals that I've won in the last, we'll call it 10 years of bike racing. So there on the right-hand side on the stand is my first gold medal of, you know, New Mexico State champion. And then on the left is not a gold medal. It's a bronze, but it's a podium placement on a national event. So it's a national medal, and then you got a gold medal. So those are two of the medals, and believe me, I have handfuls of medals from different events and stuff like that. But those are the two that I prize the most, and so I look at those and I keep those there because it's telling me that, hey, you accomplished a lot. So can I accomplish more? Yeah, but do I need to? Probably not. So I'm coming more and more to terms of just enjoy cycling. I don't need to be in every race. You know, enjoy the concept and ideas of being able to film and photograph it and live stream it, you know, is where a lot of my focus has been, and you know, enjoy it in that capacity. Enjoy smelling the roses, if you will. It's been surprising to see cycling from a different light, where instead of going hard, fast, training all the time, many of the same routes that I've taken before, I'm taking it at a much slower pace where I'm absorbing the surroundings and things that are around me and getting more enjoyment out of it. So the cycling is definitely going to change due to this whole thing. And like I said, even if, let's just say that this blood clot completely cleared up and it was gone, and I had basically free-flowing blood again, where I know I can put hard efforts down and like all the blood that I send down, it can freely flow back. That's the biggest issue right now. So let's just say all that went away. I don't think I'll be back in the racing scene. I don't think I'll be back in the racing game. Oh, I'll continue to ride a racing bike because I have several nice racing bikes, but definitely don't think I'll be doing anything in the racing scene. So with that, takes me to the next topic that I want to talk about, because I do think that if this idea that I have, and I plan to do something about it, I need to start thinking about conditioning and training and things like that, and being ready for it if I do plan to do it here anytime soon. And anytime soon for me right now is potentially October. November might be a little bit too late. But some of you have probably heard me say this, but I am thinking about riding my bicycle and live streaming it riding from here in Albuquerque and riding to Las Vegas, Nevada. and live streaming it. So we're looking at probably a 9. I think I calculated at the one time that I started doing some initial pre-planning and thinking about distances, where I would stay, things like that. We're looking at about 80 to 100 miles a day for about up to 8 to 9 days, depending, like how often you take a break, a day off, things like that. So that's coming up here really soon. And so it would definitely be a very slow-paced ride. I'm definitely not going to be doing anything significantly fast or anything like that by any means. So if I'm going to consider doing this, I need to start thinking about, like today, I need to be doing these rides where I'm conditioning myself to being in the saddle for 8 to 9 hours a day. Yeah, Doogie Dale. Yeah, I would definitely take the interstate. Just to answer that, yes, and I'm not worried about that. I'm really not. I see people do it all the time, and I'm not using that as an excuse as why. But I've obviously traveled this road from Albuquerque to Flagstaff to Vegas down to Phoenix numerous times, so I do know that it's a pretty wide shoulder, and you can stay way over to the right. Anything can happen, right? But it's going to be the most direct route. There are places where you can actually get off the highway and not necessarily be on the interstate, but I wouldn't want to go too far off the interstate because essentially you got to look at it as the cellular networks are built off of main interstates. Okay, so if I'm going to live stream it, obviously I would want to be able to make sure that I've got good connection. Okay, I already have 3 data plans. I've already live streamed driving from Albuquerque to Phoenix, and I know that I have good uptime, like almost all the way through. So if I ride and live stream it, I think I would be okay. And again, being on the interstate doesn't bother me a bit. Okay, so just kind of, you can rule all that out of your mind. Yeah, the Bella Box would definitely work. Like I said, I've already live streamed. From driving from. I've driven from here to Flagstaff down to Phoenix to Las Vegas. I've live streamed going to Amarillo, Oklahoma, Memphis, and it's all uptime. So again, you just got to remember that most of your cellular network is line of sight on interstate is all part of it. So that would be one of the reasons why I would do it. So anyways, there's that. Okay, so again, those are the 2 main topics I wanted to talk about today. So we've already talked about the whole blood clot thing, which segued into this, what cycling looks like in the future, and if I'm going to get this ride live stream in, I need to start thinking about conditioning and things like that right now. Now, I will say that although a lot of my rides have been on the e-bike lately, I've noticed that my time in the saddle is increasing. Okay, so why is that important? So after being told that I cannot ride the bike for a while, my conditioning, both physically and even comfort to the saddle, has greatly reduced. So when I started getting back on the bike, 20-minute, 30-minute sessions were just uncomfortable on the saddle. And we're talking about custom saddles that I use that cost $300, $400, $500 saddles that I normally race all the time, that I ride with and race and everything, are uncomfortable. But I've noticed that as I've been getting out on the e-bike a little bit longer, up to 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I noticed that the conditioning of being in the saddle again is coming back. Okay. So what the next phase is going to be is where I need to quit using the e-bike and actually start just using a normal bike and pedaling on my own. Okay, now, I want to point out that just because I use the e-bike doesn't mean that I'm letting the e-bike do all the work. Now, there's times where I do, because like I said, when I get to a certain point where the swelling comes up or I get a little bit fatigued, hey, I back off and I let the e-bike do some of the work. But what I need to do is start doing some of these rides where I actually go out on a normal bike, trying to get 2-3 hours in the saddle at a time, where I'm just under my own power, to get an idea of how that's going to affect me physically. Okay. Because again, if I do this, now I don't want to say if, I got to leave the if. When I do this live stream, like I said, I'm going to potentially be in the saddle on the bike for 8 to 9, in some cases up to 10 hours of the day. It's going to be some very long rides, some very long live streams. So I need to start thinking now about preparing myself for that if I'm going to get it done this year. I got to quit saying if. I really want to get it done this year, and I think there's plenty of time. So actually, how much time do I have? We're June now, and like I said, if I do this, I'm probably going to have to think about doing it sometime in October. So if I look at it now, if I still got the full month of June, I got July, I've got August, I got September, and then I would probably plan this here for sometime mid-October, mid to potentially the end of October, not maybe all the way to the end of October, because climate-wise, as far as here, we won't see snow or things like that time of the year, but the temperature will definitely come down where the rides will definitely be a lot more manageable. And then especially in Vegas, like as I move more and more towards the West Coast and get to Vegas, I mean, you're talking where in early to mid-October, where that's the time where many times my wife and I were doing like our next vacation. We're still doing poolside cabana, and the temperatures come up to 80, 85 degrees. It's still kind of toasty, but it gets cool in the evening where the temperatures are dropping to like 60, 65 or so. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm planning to do this towards that time. But we'll see how it goes. So right now, let me just kind of close out with a few comments on closing statements on this whole thing. So again, blood clot is still a big issue, big problem. Okay. Like I said, whether you want to look at it in layman's terms, 24-inch long blood clot from the crease of my hip down to my calf, or if you want to listen to it in medical terms, single perineal vein and the popliteal vein are occluded. The distal femoral femoral vein is about 50% patent, while the mid to proximal femoral vein is about 95% occluded. I got a massive blood clot. That's what that says, okay? So I'm still dealing with that. It's affected me today physically, what I do as far as cycling and everything like that. It's definitely affecting and impacting what I do physically. I've obviously put on a little bit of weight since I can't really ride in the ways that I'm used to riding. Now, some of the weight is good. I put on 10 pounds of muscle where 8 pounds of it is other stuff, right? So it's impacting how I ride and everything like that. So that's why this is leading to, hey, don't let the blood clot limit me. And even if on the next visit there's no improvement, I don't want to let it be a thing that limits me. And I want to do some event that allows me to say, hey, I am conquering what this physical ailment is or what it looks like. Okay. So anyways, that's where I am with this here, y'all. So again, this chat session is not so much for you, the audience. This is not so much for you. It's again, I like to do these once in a while because what I'm going to do is definitely going to go back and listen to the video, and I want to hear a lot of the things that are processing in my brain right now because, like I said, this does not go away from me. I feel it. I see it physically every day. It's in my brain every day. It's impacting me mentally as just as much as it is physically. And so I just think of all the different things that I can do to overcome it. Okay, so that's why this event is on my to-do list to get it done this year. So part of it is I'm going to have to look at doing some training things, like maybe I ride from here like one of the legs, like I ride from here to Gallup and catch a hotel and turn around and come home, because that will ultimately be able to check my physical abilities to even do this, you know. And again, live stream, I don't think there'll be an issue because, like I said, I've streamed many, many times and I already know what the network looks like going out west. So, like I said, I've learned a lot. One, learning to be very patient with myself. Learning again that things that were once within your control quickly become something that you can't control, and you have to continue to focus on the things that you can control, you know. Appreciate you listening to all the bullshit falling out of my mouth. If you watch carefully, you'll even see some of my shoestrings fall out of my mouth because I always have my foot in my mouth as well. So appreciate y'all listening to me ramble for a bit. So we'll see y'all on the next one.